just let me know and I can shut that.
Okay, sounds good. I can't hear anything right now, so it should be fine.
Okay, great.
So, okay, so you're going to go up to the left and click on the little screen share icon.
Okay. And then, there we go.
Perfect.
Can you see?
You'll just bring up the first one. And then, did you get a chance to watch any of these yesterday?
Yes, I watched a couple yesterday, a couple today.
Okay, perfect. So same kind of deal. You're going to tell me a little bit about what you think about the photo and what went into creating it. And then I'm going to grade you, and we'll just go through all 5 that way. Sound good?
Okay, sounds great.
All right, ready when you are.
All right, so this is probably the picture that made me realize I like compositing, photoshopping, editing, creating an image. I took this about a year after I started photography, and this was supposed to be sort of a swimwear, swimsuit, shot on the beach type of a shot, but it started pouring rain, overcast all day, just was not going to get the light and the environment that we wanted for it. So in a pinch, we kind of ran over to a park that had a covered shelter, and in between bouts of rain, we would run out and try to take some pictures, and I was trying to find something creative, interesting to do. So I grabbed some speed lights, taped them up underneath the umbrella, and shot a couple telling her to be Mary Poppins, like the umbrella's about to carry you away.
Nice. So 5 points for creative thing, because that's awesome.
Thanks.
So I love the concept of this shot. I think it's really, really beautiful. I think the light was executed flawlessly. I would have liked to have seen, and this is tough, I don't know how you would have did this. I think maybe if you would have just angled her wrist forward a little bit more, the light would have came forward, and you might have caught just a little bit more fall off onto the bottom of her skirt and her legs. I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more light down on the bottom, or if you had had another light off screen that was just adding a little bit of fill down there. But overall, I think it's a really beautiful shot. I love the concept. Same thing, it's really, really dark on her backside because it's such a concentrated light, but then the light is so prominent on her face and her shoulder that I feel like there's just a disconnect between her upper and her lower body. Love the expression, love the energy, love the muscle tone in her arm that's actually holding the umbrella, love the detail of the umbrella itself, and I love that we still got some detail and texture from the trees behind her. But you definitely start to lose that the lower you go in the photos. So I think this is a brilliant concept. I would really like to see you reshoot it and maybe just pay a little bit of attention towards the lower parts of her body. But overall, I'm going to give you an exceptional on this one because I think it's one of the best ones you have in your portfolio so far.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Next one?
Yep, next one.
Okay, so I met with some of the other cohorts last night to talk about my images. This was shot at a workshop, but at a workshop where we were just given the location, the models, and the wardrobe, and we had to come up with our own images. So they felt it was still okay to include in the critique, but I just wanted to mention that up front. The concept behind this, it's sort of it was a storytelling workshop. We had to write a story for the day and then shoot a bunch of images about that story. And my story was about a house because we were in this old mansion and rundown mansion, and about a little girl who grew up in a house, and the house basically wouldn't let her leave, and she ended up living her entire life alone in this house. And this shot is supposed to be the house not letting her leave and kind of attacking her as she's trying to look out the window to see on the outside.
What a great storyline. That sounds like an awesome movie.
Thanks.
Again, I am very, very quickly falling in love with the stories that you put into your images and the concepts that you work to create them. I think they're really profound and above par. And I love seeing them because there's nothing that I hate. I actually wrote like an entire page ranting about this in my book. That I can't stand when people rely on the viewer to create the story and they put just enough in to give you a hint of what they were going for, but they don't commit, and you are committing like 100% to what you want it to be. So bravo. Great, great choice for the windows. I love the texture. I love that it's all decrepit and dark and looks exactly like a house you would not want to be trapped in. Love the texture of the blinds. The highlights are just a little bit hot on the ones on her left hand, our right hand side, through that one section of curtain as opposed to the other side. So I would have liked to have seen if that could be recovered at all. And I might have gone in and just added just a little bit more light to really bring out the fixture above her, and just a little bit more of the detail of the walls above the curtains, and maybe a little bit of the texture in her hair. But overall, it's a really good shot. I'm gonna give you another exceptional for it. I think it's really good.
Thanks. I definitely see what you're saying, and I do.
Killing it.
Thanks. I appreciate that. So we'll go to the next one.
Yeah.
So this was a little self-assignment, self-challenge, and I wanted to come up with basically a movie plot, and then I wanted to shoot 5 pictures that would kind of be like the promo stills that you get from a movie. I'm a big fan of sort of like Alfred Hitchcock, and I like those really dark, I like the creepy, I like the weird kind of movies and TV shows. So this was the first of that sort of series of 5 shots.
Okay. This one, the storyline is not coming through quite as strong.
Okay.
But it does look like it could fit into a horror film right before some guy in a Halloween mask kills her, or into a boudoir kind of genre. I would have definitely cloned out the top of the toilet seat, and probably would have taken out, it looks like the edge of the sink. Oh, and you know what, actually, and it may be my screen, but you almost can't see the line of the person. I totally missed that there's someone watching her until just now. So I love the idea of that, but I would definitely go in and just dodge and burn and turn up the contrast a little bit to make it a little more prevalent that she's not alone, because your eyes go to whatever's light. So I just totally missed that whole side of the photo. I would have also gone in. It's a little bit hot, the light on the shower curtain to the left, as opposed to the right. So I may have taken the light and just and I know you're working in a small space with that too, but I would have seen if there was a way for me to get it directly behind her, because I think that you're actually losing a lot of the detail that you could have picked up in her silhouette. And again, you can go in and post and just darken that in just to make it a little more prevalent. You definitely get the idea that someone's behind there, but I feel like a little more information with her and with the silhouette would have made it a much stronger image. So I'm going to give this one a commendable. I think it's good, but I think you missed the mark just a little bit with this one.
Okay, so don't be as subtle, especially with the person standing outside. I can see what you're saying with that. Okay, thank you. So then the next one. So the story here is I wanted to be a little less literal with the story and a little bit more mood and concept. And I just wanted to talk about regret, and sort of the morning after the night before was kind of the tagline for this series. And I found a model who was willing to work with me on this. I found a really creepy, old, dark motel room. And we just kind of got a couple different shots. And this was one of my favorite ones from that series.
Okay. I love that you pay attention to detail. I love the alcohol bottles behind her and sort of the old, like, like raunchy hotel kind of lamp.
Yes. Yes. And that's what it was, a raunchy hotel lamp.
Yeah, the smoke is really beautiful. I've seen that overdone and done wrong. So that's definitely adding to it. I would have liked to have seen just a little bit more separation from her right shoulder and the background. You kind of lose her in that just a little bit, but there's enough of it to sort of see it. So I've noticed
Okay.
like people will actually like furrow their brow and squint, trying to get their eyes to adjust when they're looking at a dark image. So either
Uh-huh.
you have to completely get rid of the information so that it's not there at all, because if there's a hint of it, people will focus on that and then they lose the potency of the image.
Okay.
Um, Same thing, I would like to have seen just a little bit of detail in her hair, or if you were going to go complete split lighting, then I would have actually darkened her face so that there wasn't just the concept or the idea of structure. Um, love the light on her body; it's very flattering. Love the ring light on her fingers. Her hands just a little stiff. I think if you had just kind of cricked the wrist a little bit more, you would have had it, because it's like morning after, like, if she's regretting and thinking, oh my God, this is the worst decision ever, then she's not even after a hangover and a night of bad choices. She doesn't even have the energy to hold her hand up. Like
Gotcha.
it would just
Yeah.
be kind of limp there, I think. Um, the expression is good, but it it looks a little forced
Okay.
rather than painful, I think. Like it looks like she's trying to look upset rather than actually she's not selling it for me particularly. And even when you're doing scenes that are a little bit more raunchy and dirty, and she's not necessarily supposed to be pretty, I think that you can still flatter the figure. So I would have just pulled her left arm, the shoulder back a little bit, just
Okay.
so that you didn't get that like cutlet effect from the top of her chest coming out over the bra. It just makes her look a little heavy right there. So,
Gotcha.
um,
Okay.
but overall, I think it's beautiful. I love the harsh light. I love the little details of the shot, and I love the overall emotive quality of it. So I'm gonna give you a commendable.
Great. Thank you. I definitely see what you're saying with what you said. Thanks. So last one.
Next one. Mm-hmm.
So this is the last sort of concept shot I was able to do. Shot this in December and edited it in January, February. And the idea was to kind of came up with the idea with a friend of mine and to do faith and to sort of represent faith as this lantern that you can carry through sort of a dark woods, and the faith is kind of what gets you through the dark times of your life and of whatever you're going through. So that was the idea behind it. Wanted to shoot it on location, but it was December, horrible rain that day. We weren't going to get the environment we wanted. Couldn't put her out there in the rain and that cold, so ended up shooting her in the studio and then going back a few days later to get the background that I wanted.
Oh, well, this is a very well done composite, considering that.
Thanks.
I would have liked to have seen a little more contrast and maybe just a bit of a higher exposure on the backdrop, just because I feel like it's so dark and moody that you're
Mm-hmm.
losing a lot of the information that I think might have actually accentuated and made it a stronger image.
Okay.
Particularly, I would just work to pull the main branch out that she's kind of hanging on to. Like, that's almost like a supporting role in the photograph,
Yeah.
and you're kind of losing it a little bit. So I might go in and just that particular thing at least pull that out to make it a little more three-dimensional. I
Okay.
love the lamp. I love the glow on her. Was that lamp actually lit when she was holding it?
Yeah, so I put a speed light inside the lantern and shot that, but that didn't get enough light on her face or her body, but it lit the lantern very well. So then I took the lantern away from her and then put a softbox sort of right under her to get the light on her body. So there's two different and cloned out the softbox.
Nice. Okay. Well, I love the lantern and the light. It definitely has this sort of old fairy tale feel, in line with Grimm fairy tales and the darker kind of
Yes.
version of them. I love her body language and her light. I would have liked to have seen her up on her toes and maybe stepping forward so that she's leading into the photograph, because it looks like she's just kind of flat-footed there, and that's a
Uh-huh.
big, big no-no for me. You're always on your toes, whether you're in heels or barefoot, doesn't matter. Your heels don't touch the floor once the shutter flies.
Okay.
So, um, but that's nitpicking at it. I do think it's a really beautiful photo. I love that she is the only warmth in the image. Everything else is this very cool, dark, um, almost somewhere between like desolation and evil around her, and she's like the heart of the image, which I think is really, really beautiful. So I think there are a couple of things that could have been tweaked to make it a little bit stronger, but I still think it's really strong. It's like right on the cusp, but I'm gonna keep that at commendable because I've seen other things from you that I like more. So it would still definitely make your portfolio for me, but I don't think it quite hit the mark to being exceptional. It does remind me a little bit of Brooke Shaden. Are you familiar with her?
Yes, that was actually the workshop that I mentioned a couple of images ago. Was her workshop, and I'm a big fan of her
Oh,
work.
okay. Yeah, so yeah, you're definitely, and I love this. You are channeling her to where it makes me think, but
Yeah.
it doesn't strike me as a clone or a knockoff image. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I've
Yeah.
seen other
'Cause
photographers that they're like, oh, I love this photographer so much, and you can tell that they're doing everything they can to create like them. So you're paying homage to her without mimicking her, which is very fine art, and you did it very well in this one. So
yeah, I
bravo.
appreciate that. Thanks.
So okay, so you can go up and you can turn off the screen share.
Okay. Let me see if I can do that. And is it off now?
Yep, there we go. Okay, so we're still getting acquainted, but
Yes.
I'm super happy to be your next girlfriend. I mean, your next national. Like, I like coming in. I like coming in second because it's such a good group of people. But tell me a little bit about why the Arcanum and where you're going with your artistry and what your overall plan is. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. So the Arcanum was just kind of signed up for on a whim, and I don't know if that's good to say or bad to say, but I follow Trey Ratcliffe's work, and when he mentioned it a while ago, I just kind of signed up for it to see what happens. I like the idea of community. I like the idea of a photography community, an art community, and I really like the idea of getting people's opinions from all over. So I've got a lot of photographer friends back home, and we all kind of talk about the same thing over and over again. So I wanted to get more feedback and more thoughts and opinions than to see different people's work. So I think that's kind of why and what I'm going for, to get different people's opinions about my work.
Okay. And then are you working full time as a photographer now, or what are your goals with your photography?
So I'd like to do something full time in sort of creating images, and I don't know if photography is where I'm going to end up, or I like teaching. I've done some workshops on lighting just locally. I've done some tutoring. I like doing things along those lines. I'm in a kind of interesting situation right now. I'm just moved to Germany 2 weeks ago, and I'm going to be here for a year, and I've got a good amount of time set aside to just focus on my work and to sort of explore a little bit and to learn a little bit. So I want to take some time to sort of figure out
Okay.
what it is I like, what it is I want to do, and then just focus on the creativity part, the technique part, the craftsmanship part, and then hopefully in the end have a little bit a sense of direction of where I want to go in terms of business, career, things along those lines.
Avenue for that because there's lots of self exploration, and I think it's totally fine if you don't have a "this is where I'm going" path quite yet, because that's part of the fun. Um,
Yes.
so why Germany? Why are you there for a year?
My wife got a job here, and it was an opportunity, a great opportunity. We were able to come over. She's working, and I'm able to spend a lot of time exploring and kind of playing around. It was kind of a opportunity that fell into our lap, and here we are.
Nice. Okay. So you have a lot of freedom there right now to just pretty much follow your path.
Yes, I have a good amount of freedom. I would say right now less so as we're kind of getting settled, finding apartments, just bought a car a couple days ago. But I'm hoping that as life kind of settles down in the next couple of weeks, the freedom will start opening up a little bit more. But yeah, I've got a year to kind of play a little bit, and I want to take full advantage of it.
Okay. So we do the critiques every 4 levels. So the next one's at level 9, and we have a couple of different assignments between that. And then once you cross that critique, then you're through the foundation levels. So then the whole next 10 levels are basically being built as a personal project. So let's assume that you're with me until the end of this year in Germany. Where would you like to be? Are you coming back to the States then?
Coming back to the States, coming back to the same hometown. My goal is to have a body of work, 10 images, 12 images that represent what it is I want to do that I can start promoting to clients. So I think I've started some of that with the images that I showed you today, but I basically want to build on that and work on the storytelling techniques. And so the goal is to come back with a portfolio, honestly, or at least the start of one.
Okay, and who are your clients?
That's a really good question, and that's, I think, what I need to figure out. I don't know. I don't know who would pay me to do this, but I would really like to meet those people and be their friends.
Okay, well, there's two different genres that I see off the top. Either one, you're getting paid by the models and the subject matters of the photograph to create art with them in it, or two, you're getting paid by art collectors who fall in love with the work and want to hang it as a print on the wall. Yeah. So, you know, the trade-off is that I think that it's actually easier to sell to models, you know, as the subjects, and I use that just in the terminology of them being the subject of the photograph. But at that same time, every time that you have someone paying you, then there is a joint expectation. So some people have a hard time with that because they feel like it closes down their creativity, because they have to take into consideration what the other person wants because the other person's paying them to create it. Whereas if you sell as a fine artist, then you create the work and they buy it when it speaks to them as like an afterthought. You know, so that leaves you totally open. So what are your thoughts on that?
I hope that this year will help me figure that out. And I'm not trying to be dodgy. I'm not trying to avoid the question. I'm fine with some feedback. I'm fine. I love collaboration, so I actually would enjoy working with other people to create an image. I don't want someone to tell me exactly what to do and for me to do it. So I think it would be tough for me to work for a company, to work for a specific boss full-time. But I want to find something where I can focus as much on the creativity image-making part as the business part, if that makes sense. I don't want to be one of those people that shoots 10% of the time and does business 90% of the time, because that, to me, loses the whole point of me doing this.
I completely agree. And we're definitely going to get more into the business and marketing side in the upper levels and how to do that as an artist rather than as a business. Because I completely agree. Okay, so here's your assignment. Your personal assignment in the next couple of weeks for September is to... Are you on Pinterest by chance?
I am, actually. I just started a little while ago. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I'm on there.
Okay. Okay, so the joy of Pinterest is the fact that you can just pin from anywhere that you find something interesting on the internet. So what I want you to do is I want you to actually go on and you're going to make a My Dream Portfolio board. And what I want you to do is pin at least 10 to 25 images that this would just be the highlight of your portfolio if it was your name on the bottom of it, just as points of inspiration so that we can kind of get a feel for where you're looking to go. And then we can kind of sort of custom tailor the rest of the challenges and stuff to start meeting those expectations and pulling on the strengths that you have that are showing up in those images and the other ones and start working towards that body of work. And I feel like as you start to do that, then the rest of what you're supposed to be doing and how that feeds into a business will just kind of seamlessly follow after. It'll just pick up its own momentum.
Good. Yeah, I hope so, because I felt like I was spending too much time on the business side before, and I needed to step away from that. So I'm hoping that this year will give me a chance to do that. Okay, so let's talk about that. Why do you feel you were spending so much time on the business side, and what were you spending your time doing? Finding clients, getting my name out there, doing the networking events, going to these places, trying to meet people. I was spending too much time organizing, arranging, trying to create a business plan, things along those lines, and I felt I was spending less and less time on the creative side. And I was having a hard time doing the business side because I didn't understand what I was trying to say. I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I was trying to shoot. And I felt that's because I wasn't spending enough time on the creative side. So exactly what you said. I'm hoping that once I get more images together that show what I want to do, I'm hoping that the other pieces fall into place a little bit easier. I can write better artist statements. I can understand what kind of galleries I want to show in. I can do those things a little bit better once I understand what type of work it is that I can create.
Okay. So we're gonna get a little bit personal, but I'm gonna do that because it's your artistry, so it's personal and how it feeds into your life. With your wife going over there to take a job opportunity and you guys kind of settling in, you have a lot of freedom. Do you have to have a job while you're over there to financially support the two of you, or can her finances cover that?
Yeah, no, I'm not working while I'm here. Where I'm not, I've got a year where I'm not working, which is great and very lucky of me to
Perfect.
have.
Okay, great. So here's what I want you to do. Are you ready for this? This is going to be the most original advice you've ever gotten for running a successful photography studio. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm ready. I need it. I'm ready.
I don't want you to think about business at all for the next year. Nothing. Don't worry about artist statements. Don't worry about connecting. Don't worry about networking. Don't worry about potential clients. No pricing lists. No, nothing. Okay? I want you to write it all off. You're going to put it on the back burner and set it on a shelf because you have a completely unparalleled opportunity that everybody else would happily kill you to have in your place. Okay?
Yes. Yes.
All that I want you to do is create.
Yes.
You are an artist and you have an entire year and you buy your wife a really nice bottle of wine and take her out to dinner and thank her for this wonderful opportunity and treat her really good, and then you're gonna build this sample portfolio of work that you're aspiring to. And then what I want you to do is I want you to start dissecting that and where the inspiration comes in, and I want you to write out a statement on what these shoots mean to you and what you want to add to your own portfolio, because you are a storyteller through and through. You do it in your words and it shows across in your images in a way that most people cannot present. That is going to be your gift, 100%, and that is what is going to draw people to you. So tell me stories and then tell me the images that go with them and then go create them. And by the end of the year, even if you're only doing one a month, you should have 12 full shoots. Yeah. That tell stories, whether it's one big story and this is all a collaborative piece that's going to go together as a collection, or they're little miniature stories that each have a couple of images themselves. But I don't want you to focus on anything but the art, because here's the thing, your art is already really potent all by itself right here where you are now. So if you spend a year working on that and feeding on your craft, you're going to improve the lighting, you're going to improve your retouching, you're going to improve your shooting, you're going to improve your storytelling skills, you're going to get tons and tons of feedback while you're here in the Arcanum from a myriad of other artists and me as the mentor, hands-on. So you have all of these tools and resources at you. You have all of the tools in the grand library to be able to use for any roadblocks that you're hitting. At the end of this year, you should have a body of work that is so strong that you don't need to market and you don't need to sell and you don't need to build any kind of business plan, because the work will make the argument for you. Post them on your online mediums, post them on, and don't just limit to like photography, mayhem's awesome, whatever. You can do those things too, but put them on social media where other people can look at them, because other photographers are not going to buy your prints. They don't even pay to get their own prints hung on their walls. Okay? Right. Those are not your people. Your audience is the world right now. So the people that are buying from Brooke Shaden and the people that are buying from Miss Aniela and the people that love this kind of artwork, put it together so strong that you feel at the end of the year that you could put a fine art book together of just your work. That's what I want you to do. When you have work worthy of being sold, you won't have to sell anymore because it'll sell itself.
Yeah. I think that sounds great. I think that dovetails exactly with what I'm doing here and what I want to do here. So I think that sounds perfect. Sounds like the best advice I ever got.
Awesome. So you're going to go and you're going to put your inspiration board together so you have visuals.
Yes.
And then I also want you to spend some time and figure out, ideally, in the perfect world, when your work is selling for obscene amounts of money, how is that displayed? Are people buying them on galleries and they're hanging big wall prints? Is that a fine art book that's a collection of just your images and the stories with them?
Yeah.
Do some work on that and how you want to be known as an artist. And then start working on the shoots themselves and the stories that they tell, and that's what we're going to do for the rest of your time here.
I love it. I think it sounds great. I'm
Awesome.
very excited about it.
Good. Okay. You have about 15 minutes left on the time clock, so you can go, woohoo, I was so awesome, I got done early. Or questions, comments, concerns, you have me at your leisure for the next 15 to 20 minutes.
Well, you've got a full day today. Would you like a few minutes to rest and recoup and recover?
Only if you're done. If you don't have anything on the plate, then we'll call it a day, and you did marvelously.
I'll tell you what. I'll ask you one question, and then we'll call it a day. What excites you about being the master of this group, or you're coming into it, and what's getting you excited about it?
Well, actually, I applied to the Arcanum to learn. I applied as an apprentice. I did not apply as a master.
Wow.
And Trey went through, and I had a book that came out recently that I think, the title had been in his ear, just from other sources and stuff. And so they picked out, I think, 25 of us initially to be the first masters. And I thought he was kidding. I didn't think it was him when he contacted me. So it was a really, really high honor, but I love doing both. I really believe that, a good teacher is first a good student. So this whole dynamic and the way that the system is set up completely reinforces that, because every master is a student training to a higher level of mastery, and then they turn and they take all that information and they teach those that come after them and that are, just starting out on their paths. So it's just this constant growth pattern, and it promotes generosity of learning and information, which I think raises the bar for the industry as a whole. And for the same reason that I love to shoot. I shoot women and boudoir because, it makes them feel sexy, and it allows them to see what is really beautiful and awe-inspiring about them. And I think that teaching does the same way, because for some reason it's usually easier for me to see the potential in people than for them to see it in themselves. And I think some of that is just the fact that the people that live on the top of the mountain can't appreciate the majesty of the mountain. You appreciate it from the base when it's looming in front of you. So I think sometimes people forget just how monumental they are, and being able to do that is awesome, because you guys are gonna become these world-class artists, and you're gonna become the next household name. And I want to be like that person. I'm gonna go, yeah, I had them when they were level 4.
I like that.
That excites me a lot, and it's it's amazing, because I learn from you guys as much as anything that I'm teaching you.
That's great. Yeah, and looking at your work, I'm not surprised you were selected as one of the 25, and I love the energy you're bringing, and I'm very excited about the group. I've been a little away just because of traveling and moving, but as I'm getting back and settling down and finding Wi-Fi connections, I'm really loving the collaboration that's going on. So I think it's great. I'm very excited about this year.
Me too. And you guys have a really good group. You have a really strong collection of work, and it's so diverse with what everybody's specialties and where their expertise lies, that I think you guys are going to do really well as a support system for each other too. I'm really excited to see you guys develop.
Yeah, me too. I think it's going to be great.
All right. Well, you have survived your first critique. Bravo. You're gonna go back, and whatever the points were that you were awarded, you're gonna add 1 karma point for each point you received in critique, and then we get to do this again at level 9. I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome, me too. Thanks so much.
You're welcome. I will see you soon.
All right, have a good night. Bye.